This is an SM Media production.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the Celtic Report right here on SM Media. I'm Scott McPike. It's a pleasure as always to be your host, and I'm delighted to welcome back to the show. It's a pleasure to welcome on Liam McDade.
Thanks very much. Well, fantastic to be back on.
Yeah, you could have picked better weekends.
I know, but also we'll get into that game and a lot of things around it as well. But you know
Right. Before we get into talk about the game,
what?
Liam, you might have saw that I came in for a lot of criticism for a certain tweet that I put out. I stand by it. I stand by it. I'm going to explain it. We'll talk about the whole kind of situation later on because I think if we like the transfer window and the protest, I think we've got a wee bit of a segment later on, and we'll kind of go into further detail. My whole point is that I put out that I don't get the timing of it. I totally understand why there's frustration. I totally understand why there's resentment towards the board. I think this should have been done months ago. I don't get why right now this is the time where we're gonna see a sack the board thing where it should have been. Why not do that when? Correct me if I'm wrong. Celtic were out when they played Lazio. Am I right? Right.
Aye,
That was the perfect time to do it. You away fans want to do it. That's the time to do it because domestically Celtic have been flawless and they're still in the driving seat in the league as far as I'm concerned. Right now is not that. The frustration of the January window aside, the frustration for me should be Celtic aren't doing well in Europe. That is where Celtic's next level need to be. That is the bigger problem, as far as I'm concerned. You might disagree.
No,
That's what we.
I totally agree because I think that I know we've had setbacks in the league, but it's the same again. We feel like it every year. You get a decent group, you go into it, and it's the same. It's the same story that we get, and I don't understand why we say things, but we don't really build anything like banners or something like that after a European game because it's that team we played that much. But I mean the game against Lats, I mean the games we played this season are probably worse than what we've played in some of the league games. And I understand obviously even myself when the Aberdeen game such like that a season that's been frustrating, but we should be just really frustrated at the fact that Celtic can't do it in Europe as well. Which really it baffles me at the same time about the protest because it should have happened a long time ago, as you say.
Yeah, I mean, I get why fans are frustrated. I agree with them. I agree that the fact that recruitment has been put. I don't think Brendan Rodgers went into the January window thinking I'm going to sign a winger from Rapid Vienna and a loanee from Norwich. There's no way he's thought that. So I get why there's frustration. But what can he do? If Celtic go out and spend, let's say for example, just Celtic went and spent £7 million on a left back. They'd signed a new goalkeeper in January and signed a striker and spent 12, 13 million quid. Do you trust the recruitment team to do that right now?
No, not a chance.
So what do they want? That's the bit that's getting me.
I know, and it's frustrating because you see these players getting linked with Celtic and the likes of the Norwich striker. I mean, it baffles me that the fact that we're linked with the other striker first, we were going to I can't mind his name. And the fact that we let him that deal go to Norwich and then waiting him, it's a laughing. It actually one of the moments. It's just like you've got to laugh at it if you can because it's the fact that went through like that and we got the under 21 striker who's I don't think he's hardly played. So I mean, he didn't look. I know we're getting into the game. He didn't look that bad when he came on, to be fair. But I don't think Rodgers signed. Well, he had to sign off for it, but I don't think he was the one that said, "I go for it."
We could probably spend a full podcast on this, but we're going to do the game first. We'll talk about obviously the full Aberdeen game because it was a good opportunity for Celtic. I think we were all expecting some sort of fan reaction to the January window, because it was disappointing. It was. You can't help but think, right, Celtic haven't signed who they were linked with, as you say. I think the whole Van Hooijdonk to Norwich and then Norwich loan the striker to Celtic. I think there's a wee sort of weirdness to that. But in terms of the lineup, the Aberdeen game on Saturday, I think it was exactly what we thought it would be. I don't think we were expecting any changes. One was obviously going to be Carter Vickers, who's just not been able to stay fit. Nawrocki coming in. I wasn't too concerned about that, because I think Nawrocki's been quite hard done by with how he's been kind of perceived. I don't think he's done much wrong so far. So in terms of the team, it was probably as good as you could get.
Aye. Obviously because we didn't pursue left back in the window, it was going to be Bernabe, which again, under Ange, he didn't see it, and I know, and you can what I would do, I know we'll get into the Hibs game later on, but what I would do, I would put Scales at left, but I know he played like a wee bit then, last season at Aberdeen, and probably maybe put Gustav Lagerbielke in at centre half with Rocky. But again, Bernabe, it's just come down to what we're talking about, the transfer window, but it's the team that mostly I think everyone expected to go play, but it's a team that should be comfortably beating Aberdeen.
Yeah, and in terms of the first half, possession-wise, they dominated Aberdeen. I think I read a stat saying that Aberdeen didn't have a shot, a touch in their own box. Celtic were playing some really good stuff. The only problem is that there wasn't a goal. There should have been goals in front. There were obviously Palmer was offside for the goal. First half, the only thing missing was a goal. That was, I don't think any Celtic fan could have knocked the performance first half. It was missing that difference.
It was, and to be honest, when I was at half time, I was expecting I was thinking to myself, we could go in here and get a comfortable win in the second half, because it saw positive signs. We just lacked that edge, and even when Palma scored and it was ruled offside, I thought we could go in and get that goal for half time, but we just lacked that in the edge. But I think Bernardo hit the post, the bar in the first half as well, which was quite unlucky. But except for that, I thought we were really comfortable in the game in the first half.
Yeah. There's a few different things I want to touch on with the first half. I think it was a perfect opportunity to really kind of discuss certain things. I think Palmer, I've said it on here a lot. I think his numbers are good. I think there is that worry with inconsistency, but I think first half showed it. I think he was the only player that you thought there was anything coming from, and that's going to open him up to some problems, because when you are the only person trusted to be that creative difference, you can't. It's impossible to be consistent. If you're creating 9-10 chances a game, if 5 of those, 6 of those are coming off, you're not going to be at Celtic. So it is that thing of with Palmer. I think there's really, he offers a lot, but I think he is going to be that player who's just going to be frustrating at times. But it's not his fault.
It isn't, and you can see it many times on the park. I mean, when he tries to cut in, it just doesn't work out. But it's not his fault, because the rest of the team they've got to try and move from. They've tried to make something happen. But it looked to me, especially off there, that it was a great move. But obviously, I know it was just a couple of yards offside. But it was. They looked like the only person that really could score. And I thought, I know Bernardo hit the bar, but it looks like the one every time he gets the ball, he could try and do something, but he's not going to keep it up. We've seen that with many players, especially in the wing as well.
You mentioned obviously the left back position, and I think it's probably the right time to start clubbing both full back positions in together, because I thought Alistair Johnson was a brilliant bit of business last season when he came in. He came in January, looked immediately. I thought he was a step up in Juranovic, to be honest, just as an all-round complete fullback. He's not been the same player. And I think it's time we need to question, as a tactical thing, is the player just out of form? We're now at a stage with Alistair Johnson where I'm trying to think of when he was good last season, and I'm thinking off the top of my head he was decent last week. He's not been. I can't count in one hand the amount of good performances he's put in so far this season, and it's not like him.
It's not like him, because especially last season when he came in, like, it's another thing, because the side point that the board think that they can't sign him during January. We signed him during a World Cup, but I mean, last season he was tremendous, especially under the Rangers game at Hampden. But that's just the one vote. But this season, as you say, it's struggled to count the amount of games he's actually performed really well. I know he got the goal last weekend against Ross County, but it was deflected really. But I think a bit of both. I think probably Rodgers and maybe just the style. Whether or not we need to change something up there, but as you say, it's just not been like him.
Bernabe's not the answer. We can definitely come to that conclusion. I've given thought since he came in last season that it might take time. Obviously, a new culture. He's just not Celtic class, and this is the issue that the board and Rodgers as well, because I think Rodgers, the Brendan Rodgers of the first time, would have identified this as a problem area. I don't think Greg Taylor. I think we can all agree that Greg Taylor's not tip top, serviceable. Bernabe's just not even that. And at a big club and a big where the squad depth has been so good the past couple of seasons, now you're looking at a situation with Ralston coming in, and if Johnson makes it, I think Ralston at left back's better than Bernabe. I'm going 100%. With that. I think that's a damning situation to be in, because obviously with Taylor being injured, I don't know where he's due back. He can't play Bernabe.
No, it can't come to that, and it obviously has, but it's the fact that we haven't. I mean, as you say, the first time under Rodgers, he would have noticed it right away, and he would have tried to get a one in. But the fact that we have to play Bernabe, and you just say Ralston when he came on, do you know what? He looked a much better, far better, and we started getting balls done. I think that's how we got that we got the equaliser. But you've seen it even when he started, was it last week? Obviously after Taylor got injured, I mean it looked rash every time he got into the ball. He didn't look, what he was doing with it. To be honest, even under when he first signed, I know he had to settle in, but I think Ange found out that it wasn't going to be a player. But the fact that it has to come to that, and we haven't, even Taylor, you know what I mean. But that's just what we've come to.
When do we start talking about Kyogo? Now, a lot of people have, and I probably have as well, when I think I have put it down to he's just not suited to the Brendan Rodgers system. But he just didn't look anywhere. He just looked so isolated, and just I think he's the sort of player that we saw the past 2 seasons under Ange. We keep going back to Ange's time, and is it unfair? I'm not sure, because when you've got several players who are fitted to one system, if you bring in a different type of manager and you need to adapt, it's going to take time. But you don't get time at Celtic, and I think Kyogo. We saw in the Old Firm the game against Rangers, he was so good at just being able to find that pocket, get that shot away. It's horrible to what I'm going to say here, but in Saturday you could have actually you could have actually not noticed him. There was times you were thinking, is he even on the park? It's a problem. It's a big problem.
Massive. Aye, especially when you see your main man, he came back a few times from his position just to try and get a touch of the ball.
Yeah.
And he struggled with that. And that is a problem, because we need to sort out, because that's our main man up front, and he's been fantastic, obviously, the 2 seasons. And I think I don't know how we're going to sort it out. I don't know if the Norwich either, if he's going to try and switch it up. But even when we've played 2 up front with O, I think we tried that. It just didn't work, and I don't know how we're going to sort out.
It's tough, because I think the one position, even although I didn't think McGregor had his best game, I thought O'Reilly was quite quiet and Bernardo were quiet. The midfield's fine. The midfield is the one part of the pitch where you feel there's not much needing addressed there. But in terms of the lack of isolation, and this is where I've got a bit of leniency towards Palmer. Palmer's trying to get Kyogo involved. He's trying his best. Abada, I think, still, I don't think he's fully match sharp yet. I think he's fit, because you can see, but I think just in terms of match sharpness, he's still a wee bit to go. Do you take Kyogo out the side? Is it at that stage? And I'm not. I don't subscribe to the fact that no one's undroppable, but Kyogo's pretty damn close.
He is close because you can, as you say, you can blame it on Rodgers' tactics all you want, but if he's not going to, I mean, what, February now, if he can't, fit into that position, I mean, it's hard because if it's any other player on the park, you're dropped.
Yeah.
Well, you feel like it, but it's close to coming down to that.
The problem with getting in at half-time level was, despite Aberdeen offering next to nothing in the first half, they obviously still thought we're still in this. And they came out all guns blazing. And there was a weirdness of the game as well that Bojan Miovski, who was linked with Celtic, I think would be a good fit at Celtic.
Mhm.
The goal is a bit of a farce from a defensive point because Bernabe
Mhm.
gives the ball away and makes no attempt to drag back.
Yep.
And Navrocki's obviously on a booking, and let's be honest, he's probably lucky to still be on the park at
Mhm.
this point. He can commit. If he commits, obviously he's
Mhm.
definitely gone,
Aye.
but it just leaves Miovski wide open. We'll get into Hart in a minute, but it's a really, really good finish for Miovski. But when you're really wasteful like Celtic were in the first half and that happens to you, you can't help but feel that it's absolutely ridiculous to be in that
Mhm.
position.
That
That's the only
is,
thing you can come to.
that is, and we shouldn't be. It's every time we shouldn't be in that position. We should be more comfortable in the game, especially after you say that first half. But I think the defending, as you say, Bernabe, the fact he gives the ball away and doesn't even track back is it's incredible. It doesn't do it, but we've seen that many times from Bernabe, and I think that the Rossi as well, also because he was on a yellow, he couldn't commit. But I've seen it many defenders throughout this season. They just back off him every time they go forward. They just keep back, and then it's a great finish for Miovski, and I think it's a player that we probably should have signed, to be honest. I know there's a lot of debate around that. Would he fit in his? I think he would score goals.
Yeah,
That's one thing he would have.
I don't think there's any doubt that he would score goals. And you saw that though as well. Aberdeen did not have a lot of real kind of penetration in the whole game. Actually, I know they came into a game in the
Mm-hmm.
second half and they were better. They chased the game and quite right.
Mm-hmm.
They were right to because Celtic were wasteful and really offering nothing. But Miovski, that's 19 goals for the season for Miovski. It would have cost a lot of money, but I can't help think it's an opportunity wasted. And
Mm-hmm.
is he going to be available at that price in the summer? Is it going to be an opportunity missed?
I think it's going to. I think it's going to be an opportunity missed. I think the fact that Neil Warnock's coming, I don't know what kind of job he's going to do at the end of the season, but well, it'll be an interesting one. But I think that clubs will be in for him in the summer. I know the guarantee, and I think he priced Aberdeen obviously put their price up because they're wearing right to because he's 19 goals this season.
Yeah.
And I think it's a big opportunity miss because I can't mind what Aberdeen were wanting from him, but do you know what? I think it'd be worth the money, but I don't think Celtic were willing again to pay that money for something that probably wasn't really a risk.
Yeah, and it's a big kind of thing, obviously. Like I thought the two new signings came in. There was a change of shape. You did see
Mm-hmm.
obviously it went to a bit more of a kind of wide. He allowed kind of Kuhn and Ida to link up. I thought some of the link up play was really good,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the goal I thought was very good. Obviously, O'Reilly hit the post. A really, really well taken goal. It gets a bit of luck, but really good finish I thought from
Mm-hmm.
Kuhn. I've been really taken by Kuhn the past couple of games. That I don't think he's going to come in and be the saviour in that wide position, but I think he's going to add depth. I wasn't overly excited with the signing, but
Mm-hmm.
you can tell he's got a bit of technical ability.
Mm-hmm.
The fact though that the two new signings came in and almost instantly completely changed the rhythm of the game.
Mm-hmm.
What does that tell you?
I think it tells you everything you need to know about the other players. Just they're happy, just they know they've got their position in a team starting. I think that these players have come in and took obviously Kununak and just showed you a bit of energy. They gave you a bit of something, and obviously you got the goal. I know it's deflected, but do you know what? I don't. If them players were on the part, I don't think we would have scored. It just tells you. That's what it really tells you.
I had a lot of. There was a few times in the game where you're thinking, "Why is Joe Hart?" Joe Hart was
Mm-hmm.
terrified to come out his box, and I think the whole Joe Hart situation is going to need addressed in the summer, but I thought even more on Saturday that he was just he struggled so much to come out his line, and when you've got a striker, and Aberdeen weren't a side. Aberdeen we've seen it in the games this season. Aberdeen specialise and try to play in the counter. Might be different in the future, obviously, with their new manager, but it's worked for them on occasion. They did not have any hesitation. They were targeting Hart, and that's another concern. And I thought Nawrocki obviously was walking a tightrope, and I thought he should have been substituted a lot sooner. Bernabe, I thought Ralston brought a balance when he came on. I thought Stephen Welsh, as soon as he came on, just brought an instant balance into that defence. And Hart obviously is a big save, kind of late on for Miovski, and Shinnie as well. That could have been even worse than it is now. And it could have been, and you're thinking, Joe Hart has saved the day. I don't think Celtic scored, I'm right in saying Celtic scored in the 63rd minute.
Aye.
Can you think of a clear-cut chance Celtic had for them?
Not real, except from the Riley one, it kind of...
The one that hit the post?
Aye, but that's, to be honest, wasn't much a chance. But as you say, Joe Hart did good. It was a really good save to deny Miovski, but I mean, I think every team that saw Hart since he's made the mistakes before, it's just target him. And do you know what? It's a good tactic because it'll work. We've saw it work many times. I think Ross County were unlucky last week with that header hit off the bar. But we've seen it throughout this time of season with Joe Hart that he looks a bit more nervous and just come out of the box and dominate it, and it's just been the story of his season.
Right, Liam, let's get into the overall kind of result and the overall complexion. That it's 2 points dropped, and I have the strong belief, and I've said this when people have asked me why do you not get what the protests? Is the protest down to? I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. The first question I've got: is the protest down to the fact that for the first time in a long time there is a title race? There is a
Probably
team threatening it.
Probably, except from I think last season there was sort of kind of one, but not as big as this. And I think the fact that the Celtic board are loving us because this is probably what they wanted. They wanted a title race. We should have been, well, I think November we were 8 points clear or something. I know Rangers still had the 2 points in the 2 games in hand, but the fact that we let that slip to Rangers could tomorrow get to go level or go something like that, it's incredible. It's it's down to that. The fact that we've got a title race that we haven't seen in a few years.
Is that as well kind of another thing? Is that a bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Is that arrogance for the Celtic, a portion of the Celtic support that they can't accept that there might be a challenge? And I think I saw this during the COVID season, and I did like that. The COVID season was the first real season we had of kind of covering it and looking at it from kind of different sides. I noticed a real bitterness for the Celtics, a portion of the Celtic support that for the first time in 9 years they weren't the number one. And it's not at that stage yet. That's the thing I don't get. It's not if, do you know what I mean? Celtic have won both games against Rangers this season. Does that kind of worry you that Celtic are dropping points against sides that they should be beaten? Yes, it probably does. But they've beaten Rangers both times. I would have confidence if Celtic played Rangers tomorrow. I would still have confidence that Celtic would be favourites.
And I think the game in December, I totally had practically no confidence. I thought Rangers were going to win. To be honest, I thought Rangers going into it were looking strong. We weren't. I think I was back off the Hearts loss at home and stuff like that. I think it is a bit about arrogant because I think also because we've been dominant in the football cup wise and winning leagues and the first time we've had a proper title race, which has reacted to that, especially obviously the COVID season we had as well.
Right, the overall kind of landscape of the transfer window, I think we can all agree. I think everybody watching will say the same thing. Celtic had the chance to really kick on and spend money. Brendan Rodgers to me at the start of the window looked at somebody who was going right. I'm going to kept saying quality. Kuhn, I think, could be a good signing. I does not a long term signing. This Celtic team needs. We see it with Kyogo as well. Is the reason for Kyogo's dip as well is that no matter what, O's not good. O's not good enough to be a number one striker.
Mm-hmm.
He is virtually undroppable because there's nobody like him. But that's where you have to go and really kick on and spend money. And if it's Miovski now, is Miovski in the same level as Kyogo? I don't think so. But he'll certainly push him. He'll certainly score goals.
Mm-hmm.
It does feel like a real missed opportunity. But I said earlier on, is the Lowell recruitment strategy been nothing short of horrific? Because you can't look if Lowell Jr. was given 15-20 million pounds. I'm not exactly sure he's going to spend it wisely.
No. He's probably. You've seen the signs in the summer. The fact that Gustav Lagerbielke was supposed to be out the door, and then because of the injury to Carter Vickers, we don't sell him. It just puts in mind that is he, I don't think Brendan Rodgers obviously signed off to him, but the fact that we're signing players like him, they're like other players as well. I think the kind of Palma, probably the only one, Kuhn, as you say. I mean, you've no confidence in that recruitment team to give them whatever money they want and go get quality players in.
Right. What we're going to do now is we're going to go through all the signings for the summer and January, and we're going to see if we agree or disagree that if everybody's fully fit, are these guys going to be first choices, right?
Right.
Mike Nawrocki, 4.5 million. Is he first choice right now if everybody's fit? Probably not. I think Carter Vickers and Scales is the
Carter Vickers.
Got one with that.
Aye.
Palmer, yeah, I think he's done fine. I think he would probably be the Kuhn. Nah, I don't think so.
No.
Lagerbielke, certainly not. Nowhere near it. Odin Holm, a lot of potential, but he's not breaking into that midfield. 2.5 million. Yang, 1.5. Hasn't worked out yet at all. Still time. Marco Tilio.
It's the fact that he's went back to Melbourne. It just tells you.
Kwon, ripping it up for St Mirren already, but not Celtic level yet. Iwata, decent bit of business in terms of maybe a squad player, but
not first team for us starting.
Nathaniel Phillips just didn't work.
Yeah.
Ida, stopgap for 6 months. Bernardo, yes, but I wouldn't have him in front of Hatate.
No.
Right. So we've got Palmer that we both agree on. Bernardo can be. That's near enough 20 million quid in the summer. And this is who you've lost in that period as well. And this is where Jota obviously is a big loss. Jota's been hard to replace. Starfield, I think, has been hard to replace. Moy has left. Turnbull's away. Turnbull was different. There's a lot of players. Mikey Johnson is away on loan. 3 weeks ago, he was getting. What does that say? What does it say about where we are now? People have misunderstood what I'm trying to point out. I said I don't get this now. I'm meaning I don't get why now is where it's reached the stage where we're having fan protests and sack the board. It should have been done months ago. It should have been done. I would say Lazio at the earliest. I would say probably Kilmarnock could have been a time to do it as well, because you could see even then that this squad isn't exactly what it was. Now could Celtic have got a better manager in the summer than Brendan Rodgers?
They could have. They probably scouted one really well, but at the time, I don't think there was probably. I think Rodgers was the safest option.
I've said it. I said it at the time, and I'm continuing to say it even more. I think part of Brendan Rodgers will be thinking the first time he had ambitions to go out. I'll always go back, and I was talking about this with a fellow Celtic podcaster earlier today. I always go back to do you remember Only an Excuse Was Funny?
Mm-hmm.
There was a segment in that, I don't know if you remember it, where they were doing, I can't remember if it was a Brendan Rodgers CD or something, and one of the songs was "I Nearly Threw a Wobbler Over John McGinn." That wasn't a joke, by the way. That was based on real life. He wanted John McGinn.
Mm-hmm.
He felt he wasn't backed. He went to Leicester. He's come back in the summer where for 2 seasons Ange could have got any player Ange wanted. He went and got. Let's be honest, there was maybe one or two. The boy Matoma at Brighton's probably the only one off the top of my head I can really think of that they didn't go for. He got that. Why is Brendan Rodgers? I can't see Brendan Rodgers saying, "Right, we'll give this boy who's a world class scout. We'll give him the free rein. I'll just let him pick the players." Because if Brendan Rodgers has thought that, then that's a different Brendan Rodgers in the first spell, and that's enough of a red flag for me.
And I think that, I think that was a sign back end when John McGinn, they wasn't getting backed and he left. And I 100% would understand if in the summer it doesn't get backed. I 100% wouldn't go in again him if he walked away, because I don't think he would stand for another chance summer window like that. But it's again, Ange would get mostly, as you say, any player in he'd get. But I don't know how it's different under Rodgers. I don't know what kind of way it is, but I don't know how he'd go in about that.
And let's not kid ourselves here. When the board aren't going to fire the chairman's son, they're not. So, what is the solution here? And I think there's a lot of. I think instead of sack the board, it needs to be, let's quiz the board. The perfect opportunity was the AGM. I didn't hear anything at all. I heard maybe one or two things. That was the time to question what on earth is the recruitment plan, and instead it was, let's just have a laugh at across the city.
Aye.
That's what it was, and
that's what it was.
That is where I'm questioning why now, why not? Do you know what I mean? They had the chance to. The Celtic board are not. We're right. They're not interested in this because they didn't use that opportunity. They'll come out. Peter Lawwell will say something smart in a press conference in a month's time where he's trying to get season ticket money or something, and everything will be fine. Celtic are falling behind in European football. That's a bigger eye opener to me than let's look at domestically. Celtic win the league, they're guaranteed what, 50 million quid?
Aye, something like that.
That's not success anymore for Celtic. That's not, and I get, and I don't. I saw a lot of people saying you don't understand it. As a big club, we want to progress. I totally understand that. Celtic should be progressing. Celtic should be challenging in the champ. They should be challenging at least to get into the knockout rounds of the Champions League. They're not. But we didn't hear that in November. We didn't hear any sack the board. Let's have a question. Let's question Mark Lawwell. It feels to me that because for the first time in a while there's a domestic threat and across the city, I think there's a manager who's getting a terrible squad, a tune out of a terrible squad. Celtic don't have a terrible squad.
No.
But that squad should win the league. What do you want between now and June? We're having these conversations. I don't trust Mark Lawwell to bring in a £7 million left back.
No.
His recruitment this summer was terrible.
I know, as you say, you were talking about the players they brought in. That itself should just a red flag. All right, give them a chance, but see, as you say, the chant, like the amount of the AGM, the fact that they just laughed and just had a joke. Does that not bring up something? Do you know what I mean? But
yeah, I really, really question what the plan is because Celtic. I still think I've said it a lot. I still think Celtic win the league, whether they win the Scottish Cup. I don't think that's domestically Celtic have. The board have overseen a real good period of domestic success. That's not what the issue is. I don't think. I've always said Celtic should be looking at. The end of August, for example, Celtic had Champions League money. The Champions League money guaranteed, and they spent £20 million. And if you said The first 11 is it's not really get any better, has it? If you could argue Jota and Starfelt are out, it's probably get worse. O'Reilly's kicked on. Kyogo's regressed. The defence is a problem. Do you know what I mean? Liam Scales, all due respect to him, he's done really well. Liam Scales should not be a factor in that starting 11. Let's be honest. Greg Taylor shouldn't be a factor in that starting 11. The chance was there to get a new goalkeeper in. They've regressed. I just think there's a serious worry of we could lose this domestic grip. So there's the time to. But that to me is not the issue. The issue is Celtic have a lot of money in the bank. They should be really kicking on and trying to compete in Europe. They're out of Europe after Christmas. Rangers aren't. Do you know what I like?
That's it.
What do you want? Do you want to be? You should be. Celtic should be in a position to go and compete in Europe. They spent £20 million, and I'm hearing people saying, "Oh, Rodgers hasn't been backed." He has. It's just not. He's not been. He's not the first. The first 11 is not better than what it was a year ago. No way.
No.
Now, I think my overall argument isn't that the fans have the right. The fans should be protesting. They should be really upset at what's going on, but they should have been had this 2 months ago. I don't
100%.
get how now this is where it's at. Domestically, Celtic have only got domestic football for now to the end of the season. I wouldn't like to be going to Lazio, to go to Feyenoord, going to Atletico and getting absolutely battered. Because that's what happened this season. I would rather be competing in Europe. If you're competing in Europe, you should be doing well domestically. I mean, if you've got the squad, you should be able. Celtic should have the squad to do both. They don't.
No.
And that's my overall problem with the whole protest is this should have been done months ago. This should have been done when you had the chance at the AGM. It shouldn't have taken this long.
No,
now,
it shouldn't.
What do you think happens now? Let's just play hypothetical here. If Celtic don't win the league, who carries the can for that?
Well, in my opinion, it's got to be the board, but it should have been, as you say, highlighted months ago as a big red flag, and you could put the blame on Rodgers if you want, but the fact that you've seen what the board have done and how much they care, I think they're all where the finger's going to pointing to.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really, really weird situation to be in. I do think there is the Rangers thing of that Rangers are motoring. Rangers are a better side than they were 3 months ago when Beale was there. Rangers have got a good manager. Rangers, I still expect Celtic to have them covered. But that to me, I think, is the worry for a lot. I think those Celtic fans with that banner are more worried about that than they're worried about finishing bottom of a Champions League group. That's what I don't get.
I know. And when you see your rivals do so well in Europe, knockout stages, Europa League, go to a final as well. I mean, there's got to be a thought in there. Surely this is what we want as a club, but it should be on their minds is that. But
yeah, no, 100%. I think it is. I mean, I certainly think Wednesday, if we don't see improvement, I think it could get even worse. But I do expect Celtic to win comfortably on Wednesday. I think that's one of the guarantees of the week. The week. Hibs are atrocious. Let's be honest. Let's not kid ourselves here. Hibs are wide open. Hibs. The one thing with Hibs is that they won't sit back. They'll be wide open. I think this is the perfect opponent for Celtic on Wednesday, to be honest.
It should be. And I seen somewhere on Twitter that has the written of a 0-0 game, which we did have in October, but I don't see it this time, especially after that weekend game. Seeing some of the reaction of that St Mirren game. So I definitely think it's a perfect opportunity for a team what Celtic are kind of run on just to get 3 points. And if we don't, as you say, I can see it getting worse by the banners and stuff, but it shouldn't come to that on Wednesday.
Right, let's get into what we think the team lineup will be, because I think there could be a couple of changes. I don't think it'll be like let's blitz the starting 11. I think there will be small changes. If Johnson, I'm going on the assumption that Johnson's fit. I think Ralston has to go in at left back.
Has to.
I would even go as far as to say get Mitchell Freeman, get some, not Bernabe. I think it'll be Ralston. Midfield, I think it'll be the same three. I would maybe look at starting Kuhn, but I don't know who I would take out.
That's the thing, because you've seen Abada, as you say earlier, looked fit. He's probably not up to match speed, match fit. So maybe him, but at the same time, he can create something if he, when he's on the park. And Palma, I don't think is. It's tough to take him out this time.
I wouldn't drop Palma.
No.
I don't think Kyogo. I think this could be a big opportunity for Kyogo. Actually, I think he'll get a lot of time. I think this game will suit him perfectly. I think Kyogo will score. I'm going to go real far here. I think 3-0 Celtic. I think Celtic will be fairly comfortable.
I would go to say I'll go 2-0. I think it will be more comfortable in 2-0, but I think that we do need to, from that first half, we need to get goals in. We can't just rely on a team that isn't in good form after the weekend. Just rely on them being really poor. We've just got to take the chances. We can't rely on hitting the bar and just saying, no, we'll get another chance. But I won't. Hopefully it won't come to that, and we'll get comfortable at half time, 3 goals or something. It would be comfortable, like St Mirren did at the weekend. It should be 3 points.
Yeah, no, I do expect it to be a lot more comfortable than what Saturday was. So that'll do us for this week's episode of the Celtic Report. Liam, thank you very much for joining me. We've probably more entertaining ones, but no, it was very enjoyable. I think we've covered a lot there. I think we've covered a lot of things that needed addressed. So thank you very much for joining me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks very much.
Pleasure. Thank you very much indeed, folks. And I will be back with a post-match reaction pod on Wednesday night. We'll see you all soon. Cheers.